Dramatics, welcome back. So we just finished episode 4 of The Prisoner of Beauty. And so, Bessie, what do you think of this episode?
This episode, I like this episode. It's so interesting how much it's different from the very previous episode, which was definite cliffhanger. Like, I need to watch the next one. And seeing the fallout of what happened with the whole thing, Leon and his nonsense, and Wei Xiao coming to terms with the fact oh crap, I might have made some really huge mistakes.
Being too impulsive.
Once again, being reckless and not thinking things through, and the consequences that has for the long term. But a lot of really interesting things happen in this episode. And I like the progression of where things are going. So
absolutely. I really the first 4 episodes is definitely the selling point of the series for right now. So if it doesn't hook you in the first 4, then I was it's probably not going to get any better for you. But I think each of the episodes have brilliantly built upon themselves. Mm-hmm. But I believe this up until episode 4 really concludes a nice dynamic story arc, at least to this point. Because there's already a gripping storyline that kind of gets you hooked into it, and then this kind of is a resting period, like you had indicated, to where okay, if you are binging and you're just shoot, I have to go to work or have to go to sleep or whatever, if you can get to episode 4, that would be a good okay, I don't have to binge on, because it seems episodes 1 through 3, it seems you need to keep watching on.
Yes.
So. I definitely love this episode. This was really good, especially like you said, it starts character building, especially between the two of them. So I guess to start off where we had left off in the previous episode was that she was about to get shot down by an arrow by Wei Xiao. He wants to put upon vengeance on any kind of Chow family member, and so she goes running off, and you were up there just duck and weave, just weave,
right?
Because she was up there looking like she was lost and just trying to look for her puppy, and luckily by the time the arrow is let loose, Wei Xiao is right there, and he uses his sword to misdirect it where it barely misses her as she passes by, and she doesn't even notice this. And so Wei Xiao was just what the hell? Why did you stop me? And he pretty much said, she saved Shindu.
Yeah. And he looks kind of bitter as he's saying it, yeah.
Not really. I wouldn't say, necessarily
not bitter, but I think it's more crap, I really messed up.
Or he messed up. It's right, I misjudged her.
Exactly.
And then, also in awe of her. Because, of course, he's still wondering at the reason why. He doesn't know why she did it.
And he's I need her alive. I need to know these answers.
Or maybe, wait a minute, did she? Did he get that understanding from the previous episode that the reason why they was going to do it because he was going to flood the canal? I can't remember if he did or not. It's just it's past a certain hour, so I'm starting to get tired.
Yeah, I think there was this the reason why she was burning stuff down. I don't know if it was it alluded to flooding the canal, but I think there was a mention of it was going to hurt the people of Shindu, and I think that's what he kind of registered. So, immediately after this is happening, she's running off, and at first, it doesn't seem like she's making much of an effort, because there's guards everywhere, and they haven't got the memo that, please keep her alive, do not kill her.
He said dead or alive.
Dead or alive. And they're, again, kill her for morale. And so she's picked up on that. And she's like, this mofo really wants me dead. And so she's having to hide and evade guards. And then she gets to a point where she's trapped in between Wei Xiao's guards and then Li Yun's guards. And both of them, Leon's calling out to her oh, I can protect you. Come to me. You're my treasure. Da-da-da-da-da. She's number one, hurt and stunned because she's this man really wants to kill me. And so she's kind of caught in this corner because he's always oh, I've always loved you and I'll protect you, blah, blah, blah. And then you have Wei Xiao on the other side, come here, girl.
Right.
not the most romantic, but
not at all. And of course, that was the goading of Wei Lian was just are you going to say something? He's come here. I'm all right, Scorpion, you need to really chill out.
He's you realize, you chill out? Just be a little more romantic.
Right, a little bit. But of course, it's like, you can tell that he is not really a man of words like she is. Or like a person of words or verbiage. And he also says this later on in the episode. But he had to follow up this very, very like nice speech that Leon had said.
Right.
You know, about how we get kind of like a brief backstory about like how he came to be there. So he pretty much had taken refuge with the Chow clan from ages 13 to 18. So in that 5 years, he said it was like the best of his life, because eventually what he's alluding to, like, me being with you during those years really, really made me realize I love you. And he didn't say like love you, but he's like, I treasure you, and I want you to be treasure. You are my treasure. And you can tell, like, you know, when the camera cuts to Wei Xiao, he's just like, what am I to compete with that? Right. I have nothing, especially since I kicked her out. On top of that, and of course, what he doesn't currently know is that she already knows that the guards are hunting for her to kill her. Basically. And so it's just like
a rock and a hard place.
Really, and literally, and he's already just like, with that alone, with that verbiage alone, I've lost it. Yeah. And I lost her. And so he's like, what can I say? And so, but she's still teetering back and forth between the two of them. And you can also kind of like see how like Wei Xiao is just kind of like, come to me, like, really please come to me. And of course, like, so is Leon, and so she's like, oh, so I'm your treasure? Yeah. It's funny how you treat me like your treasure, but you treat everyone else like ants.
Yes, and especially going back to his plans for the canal and flooding Shandu and all this other stuff. And so with that, she runs back to Wei Xiao, and Wei Xiao even kind of looks surprised, like, okay, but just as she's running back, like, you know, everybody's like shouting the fire at her.
Leon's
uncle shouts the fire at them, and she's like running back to Wei Xiao, and Wei Xiao gets her just in time before all these arrows start flying everywhere. So not only and we kind of laughed at this moment, because it's like you have her ultimate enemy, yes, and then this person who revealed himself to be a piece of shit, and she's literally between a rock and a hard place, and having to choose like which one is the worst of the two, the best of the two evils.
And that's the thing. It's like what we were discussing during that episode is, or I think even the previous episode, is like choosing between, like you said, the lesser two evils, and also like, you know, someone that you thought you loved and thought you knew, right, versus someone you hardly know, but you still know his character better. That's just what the aspects of it. And I think we were also like trying to determine, like, okay, so we already know now that he was with them during his formative teen years. Right. And so it's just like, okay, with that being the case, was he always this big of a butthole, you know, to begin with? Did he grow into that? Honestly, like, you know, chilling with his awesome uncle over here. Like, how did he turn into such a butt? Or maybe he was always that way and was never able to show it. We don't know that. Not sure if we'll ever see that from impetus at this series, if he's always been that way. I don't know, but it's like, you know, what made her fall in love with him then? But then again, like, he didn't have like such... I'm sure he had lofty ambitions, because he also knew, like, you know, what eventually would come of everything if he got attached to her, especially what she brought to the table. But it's like, it makes me wonder and question about like what made her fall in love with him. But then again, if he's like a narcissistic kind of type, like, he will be able to charm her enough to where she wouldn't realize that, especially when she's like a formative teen or whatever, or, you know, like an impressionable young girl that is wanting love and whatnot. But luckily she had the brains to really think it through later on.
And it made me sort of question his motives for wanting to move in with the Chow family in the first place. Right. Like, was it part of a long-term goal to like build his standing, build his cred? Both her or the cousin like had were kind of like, were they part of that plan? Did it just happen to happen or whatever? What was interesting was Lu Yan saying this whole speech in front of Wei Xiao. And we sort of like made fun of Wei Xiao because in a way kind of looked a little bit jealous.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's like, how am I going to compete with that?
Right.
You can't.
And hearing that directly from the horse's mouth, and it's like,
I can't compete with history either.
That, and it explains why the ambush happened. Like, no, this was not a plot. Like, he rescued her because he sees her as a treasure. And he's like, well, I can't compete. It kind of pisses me off.
Right.
But we were also questioning, like, does Lu Yan just see her as a token, just as a treasure, and not a human being with mind and with a mind and her own thoughts and flaws, instead of this thing that he could use to get things that he wants,
Yeah, I believe honestly it's both.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I guess like let's put a pause in that, and I guess like let's finish the rest of that deal where she runs, and then his uncle's like, okay, fire, and
Yeah.
like, he protects her, and all the shields like from the wayside come and protect them. And then eventually his uncle has said, like, let us go ahead and retreat. We will fight over the bride later. And of course, like, you see that that Lu Yan is looking back at her as his uncle is pretty much like pushing them to retreat. And so when she goes over to the wayside, he pretty much hugs her and turns her around to where his back is to the line of fire. So after all is said and when they start retreating, she like rears back and she slaps the hell out of him.
Yeah, we were like, oh.
And so for his general was just like, this is, let's go fight. Let's go fight.
You know what? We can't let them get away. Let's run. And each of them has a different reaction of running off, and it's awkward because I'm like, these are battle hardened soldiers that were just killing people just the other day or just in that last episode, and they're just like, you know what? I need to go fight something. Let's go find.
Oh yeah, there's one other crucial thing I just forgot. So when she was running back to the wayside, there was an arrow that was like almost aimed towards her from Lu Yan's side, but Wei Shou shot an arrow that blocked that arrow that was going to hit her. So it goes to show he's just like, okay, so she's the right one, especially since if I was to kill her, he's going to kill me. So I'm better not do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that was like, not quite 100% trusty, but it's like, okay, I can give that respect. And plus, it seems that he wants to keep her alive anyway. I'm sure he got that talking to, like, off camera, like, look, I need this girl back alive. And like I need to get to the bottom of why she did what she did. And so, after she also had slapped him, he kind of had that look of just like surprise, but at the same time, like, kind of deserved that. Like, I kind of did.
And aware of the fact that, like, any other person, he probably would have been like, but immediately after she slaps him, like, she's angry for a little bit, like, she hesitates, and then she kind of curls into this little ball, like, away from him, so, like, he can't read her face or anything.
Yes.
And that's when the other generals run off or whatever, and there's this weird sort of silence between the two of them for a little bit where you can tell she's, like, embarrassed and angry, and she low-key wants to cry and go off on him, but like the words are not really there yet, and he's kind of confused because this whole thing just went down, and the whole symbolic action of her running toward him instead of the person that he assumed
that she was going to anyway,
running off with,
because he thought it was going to be a lost cause.
So like dealing with that, the slap, this weird relief that she's still alive and somehow, quote unquote, chose him, even though, again, I don't know if it was really a choice rather than just, better the devil I know.
Yeah. I mean, it was still like a choice. Yeah. But it's one of those things where she already knows that how cold this man was already going to be.
Yeah.
He already heard that, like, from the last episode, but I think it's the thing of just, like, she still chose me, still over everything. But it's just like, it's kind of like what you had said. It's like, sure, she'll be treated like a treasure, but, at the expense of people, where it would be the opposite of that, to where she's willing to suffer for the sake of the people to make sure the people were okay.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what she already went into this, like, possible marriage of being. Not necessarily a sacrifice, but also, like, to try and lessen and do good and make sure that, her people were protected, but also all people were fine. So, I'm like, she already went into that, but she went with Lu Yan, she already knows what's going to happen with her. She might be put on a high pedestal by this man, but all the people suffer for it.
Right.
He's going to treat them terribly.
And he's going to treat them like scum, and she's going to be complicit in that. And it doesn't help that her clan already has a poor reputation. Even they see them, the young people, they see them as traitors. So it's like, it's not looking good. And oh God, I had a thought and I completely lost it. But like, I think what I liked most about that scene is like you see their most genuine, honest selves where they're not hiding from one another. They're not trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
Like it's just raw, unfiltered emotion, like the anger, the confusion, and the tension.
Because even when the slap had happened, like, it just seemed like they were both just stunned, and they also were just only focused on each other.
Exactly.
Until eventually she just broke when she realized, oh shoot, where she was, who she had done that to. So, like, she was just caught in the emotion of it.
Right.
And, of course, who they were around. And so, and especially since, like, the last time she had, like, seen Wei Shou, he had an arrow pointed at her.
Right.
And so she wasn't sure what the repercussions of that was going to be. And so she kind of ducked into a ball, not only to collect herself, but also to make herself, like, seem a little bit more vulnerable.
Right.
To see, like, you know, you wouldn't do this to someone who's in this vulnerable state. But that also kind of, like, took the break of, like, where the guys just finally just like, okay, we're going to go and hunt. We're fine.
Emotions. We got to leave.
Especially, like, y'all have some stuff y'all need to deal with and talk through. And so, apparently, like, when she was running to that side, she kind of, like, ran to where she kind of, like, I guess, like, sprained her ankle or whatever. So, she's having a little bit of an issue. And so, he's up there with her shoe still on, kind of, like, working her foot a little bit. And, you know, she's crying and sniffling and stuff. Because I'm like, a lot of what she's just went through is very traumatic. Like, she could have died multiple times by multiple people.
Right.
You know, he's up there like, I don't know why you're making such a big fuss. I have people marching in the army that is marching with broken legs with bones showing. And so she's like, I'm so sorry for, like, practically being a baby. I'm like, I'm sorry that's offending you so much. Right. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
It was interesting hearing her, like, sort of processing, like, her trauma and stuff. Like, and seeing her cry and be a little bit vulnerable. Like, she's like, and I only did this because you did X, Y, Z, and you think of me as this person. Oh, and she was explaining she did not run away with Liu Yan. Like, that was not planned.
Yes.
That was completely by accident. Like,
that was happening. And also, that was his doing, too. He kind of took me, so.
And she made a point to say, he abducted me. I did not willingly just, oh my love, like, it's not like that. We don't have that type of relationship. And he's, like, trying to help her with her wounds and stuff, and he's struggling internally, like, shit, I really messed up.
Right.
I really messed up.
Well, because it's like, you know, in that thing, it was all impulsive, because I think with him doing an impulsiveness, it's like, yes, it felt like a betrayal, or like this was always going to happen, but also jealousy. Like, let's go ahead and call it what it is. And the thing about this is, like, you had her, you threw her out. Sorry.
Yeah.
And she also had said, essentially, to explain the slap away, was that it's like, you know, you pretty much had marked me for death.
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, I have every reason to be a little miffed. But I'm just like, I just wanted to clear the air with you now. It's what you are thinking is not what it is. And I'm like, now rewatching this scene, there's like some scenes that take place later on whenever something happens, especially whenever you have a drama like this, especially if it's an enemies to lovers or marriage or convenience, and especially when they don't trust each other fully. It's nice to see like what dynamics and what they do and grow on, if they ever do. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'm glad like this foundation is being set of just how we can erode and do trust. And so he eventually is just like, you know, let's go ahead and leave, and he gets her on his back. So he gives her a piggyback ride. And so as soon as she kind of like nestles her face near him, what falls onto his neck?
Water. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out if it was one of her tears.
It's tears.
That's okay, because I couldn't figure out if it was a tear or if it was water from when she was in that little vase.
Well, she wasn't, like, fully submerged. It was just only partly wet, like, so part of her skirt. But her hair was still bone dry.
But the way it, like, slipped down the side of his neck, and he kind of, like, jolted a little bit, like, oh, like, and there were so many water references throughout this, and we were water!
And, of course, like, even in the verbiage, they were alluding to water a lot.
Yeah.
The way the camera shoots it, because it's like they do it and it kind of does like a slow motion drop, and then his reaction to it, like, whoa. We didn't realize until after when they had replayed it, in a later like reflection scene of his, it's just like water. She's eroding away at his defenses.
Wearing him down.
Wearing him down. Like, man, that is so, that is chef's kiss, so brilliant. And so on the way on the piggyback ride, that's when she explains about the whole affair with Liu Yang and why she was just like, the thing about this with Liu Yang, you were right initially, because she had mentioned how Liu Yang apparently had looked down on her because of her low dowry, right? Mm-hmm. Until Han Yi came into play.
Yes.
Then he was trying to force marry her all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And so she was just like, okay, so there is staff for that, but yet you used me to get upon you for the same thing, and yet you didn't marry me. So, like, you know what? I'm not going to get married because you are no different than him.
Yep, she's basically in her men suck era. And we kind of fast forward through the next few days where she's resting, and I love her maid. Like, her maid is her ride or die, and so she's kind of like standing guard outside. She's kind of bickering with what's his face?
Wait, Leon. Yeah.
One of his the main generals, and they bicker, and they have their own weird little vibe going on. I'm like, I see y'all. I know what y'all trying to do
already.
But you know, he's trying to like give her some medicine for Men to kind of recover. And the maid's like, okay, but you can't come in here. I'm going to send you back on your way. She's resting. She's taking a nap. Blah, 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 blah. And then we go to day 2. And a different general comes up. And I think this one is probably the youngest one. He's a little cutie. And he has all these guards behind her. And he's like, yeah, I want to, I want to check in. Wei Xiao wants to talk to her. Maid's like, she's taking a nap. It's past noon. She's still sleeping. She's still recovering. First of all, she's like, okay, the guards need to step back. And he's like, all right, go away. And he's trying to use his little charm. Cause he's kind of cute. I'm like, all right, I see what you're trying to do there. And she seems like she's about to buy it, but she's like, you can go away. She's not feeling well. She's taking her nap right now. And then the third day hits.
Yes.
And one of the other guards, and he has like this whole tray of like, delicate robes and makeup and stuff from the market. He's like, I have this stuff for you from Wei Xiao and da-da-da-da. And May's like, all right, cool. And she takes a tray, starts walking, and he's like, whoa, you're not gonna,
the exchange like quick pro quo, like,
come on, I gave you something, you give me something.
Which is, I need her.
And she's like, well, she's taking, her nap. I know, it's noon.
Well, it's like, it was either like, she didn't eat well, and then she overate.
And it's like, how do you go from under eating to overeating? It's like, well, how do you, agree to get married and then go back on getting married?
See,
and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna go back.
Dismiss myself. Okay.
And then I was like, what the hell you mean?
Right.
She's not that sick. What's going on?
Because I'm like, it's been days, and he's just like, what is going on? And so he's just like, you know what, give me that. I'm about to go and like crack some skulls. Like, we need to get some answers right now.
And thank God, again, the advisor is like, hey, y'all, you have to understand, she's been through a rough couple of days. You literally threw her out, and then she got into this whole mess. She risked her life and helped save the people for you, and she's still recovering from these burns. Maybe if you went in there and you apologized for all that and actually treated her decently, maybe she'd be willing to talk to you. And it was so funny seeing Wei Xiao's face talk about apologize, like he never does.
Right.
But it was so funny seeing his face, because the rest of them were like, yeah, we need to beat her. I'm like, y'all.
It's like, y'all need to chill out.
Like, it just shows you that the Wei clan is all about fists and not with brains.
Absolutely. But luckily, Wei Xiao is not that way. And what you had noticed in the background of, like, I guess, like, this particular, like, office or whatever that they are, occupying there in Panyi is that behind them on the screen is water. And it's like, a little bit of rough waves where there's going to be a turning of a tide. There's some churning. There's some turning of emotions. So in that outburst, that's a perfect example of that turning of water and stuff. And so when it comes to her, of course, it's been like a steady, like, either just waves just eroding or the show of emotion of, like, what do you mean she's not gonna come and meet me? It's all of that. And so I just love the water imagery that they have throughout. And of course, they're also talking about the canal and everything else. And so it's so cool, like, the different elements of water, of how such a scary thing to deal with. It can give life, but it can also take away.
Oh, yeah.
Also, with it taking away, it can also take away and purify a lot of things. So, with her gentle waterways, that she will eventually, purify this spirit that's been broken by grief. What one of her maids had asked her, I think, like, the night after the whole fire incident and stuff like that with the sea, the onslaught, she asked him, like, do you even want to marry? She's like, of course I do. It's just the fact that the ball needs to be in his court.
Exactly. Like, you know,
it has to be his idea.
It has to be his idea. But also, you know, remembering kind of back to the other events that happen in Chandu, it's like, he has to be the one to do it. I have played as much as I can at this point. He has to pick up the slack, and he has to want to marry me, like, for valid, sincere reasons. And the look on her face, she was like getting ready for war, her own battle. Like, I will win this, but he has to play his part. I can't force him into it. He has to be willing.
Well, especially since like the agreement had already been reached because she gave him the seal. That was the condition agreed upon. But now they went in a backwards kind of way of it because of circumstances of X, Y, and Z. One of those things where she already extended that olive branch. She already extended that trust.
Right.
But he crossed it and he violated that by double crossing her essentially. And so she's just like, since the ball, I literally put the ball in your court, meaning the seal, it has to be him to return Bali. And the return Bali is the marriage that was promised.
And especially because there was a note that the soldiers, the Wei soldiers, were not really, they were like, oh, we're looking for recruits. And they don't have the people's respect. Just like they did initially in Chandu. They were like, you know, the only way to get the people to kind of respect our authority is to have Maman's like blessing, and they have to see it for themselves. It can't be through the Wei clan. She has to be out there rallying people, and that's her strength. Is like she has good connections with, like, she knows how to sway people with her words and stuff like that.
And plus, like, you know, with Panyi, this is her people. This is beyond, I guess, country part. So with that, of course, they will trust her words even more because she is them. This is like practically like a part of her hometown. And so, you know, getting that validation is also something that he needs, but it's more like she's just like, I'm holding that as collateral until you practically like come back to me with something better.
It's like, I've showed you I'm real by going in and going against my own cousin and setting these fires and trying to help your people from death. You owe me one. Now it's on you. And what was interesting is when Wei Zhao was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go see her myself. He sees her sneaking out to go see her sister, her cousin. I say sister because they seem like sisters to me.
Well, they, as you saw, they exchange it simultaneously. So, like, yes, it is her cousin, but they were raised like sisters.
Yeah, so I kind of like see that. Yeah, they meet up. And
and Wei Shou and crew do see her leaving.
Yeah, and they follow her, and they are hiding behind some boulders and stuff. I almost cried at this scene because, like, you could tell, like, Fawn has been worried about her, worried sick, and especially with, you know, after all the events that just happened, she's just like, I am so sorry. I did not know this is what you're gonna deal with, and da-da-da-da-da. And it was nice seeing them together and seeing that they have a good relationship, but also having the Wei clan see that they have a good relationship, because they did talk about, like, oh, they're both really beautiful, blah, blah. And Wei Zhao's like, one of the generals, like, you think this is a ruse? Like, do you think she's playing with us?
Oh, wait, probably Wei Liang, because it was like, everyone did go, but the only ones you saw hiding behind the boulder is pretty much Wei Liang and the advisor, and of course Wei Shou.
Yeah, and so
or Wei Shou, sorry.
Like he looks intrigued. He's you know, listening, and we weren't sure at first if, like, she was aware that he was there. From the clearing where they were, you could kind of tell, like, the way that they shot it. It could be interpreted that way.
Yes,
but it seems like it's a legitimate scene between the both of them where they're like, you know, I'm going to put you up in my house for a little bit. We'll hide you in the palace. But we get this opportunity for her to explain, like, why she chose to go in her cousin's place. And it's like, yeah, I did this for my people. I did this because I felt like you needed to be happy and all this other stuff. But also, I wanted to marry him. And she's like naming qualities. She's like, well, he's what was the
I think she said, like, he's mighty and something else, heroic and mighty or something like that.
Yeah, and when he hears that, he kind of straightens up his, you know, kind of feeling himself a little bit. He's like straightening up his posture, and it's like, you're like,
And I also love her, like, explain to her cousin, because she was kind of like, the thing about this, he's kind of like a good guy, and
Yeah.
I like him, and so it's like a very candid and open moment, and like it's also coming off as like someone admitting a crush on somebody.
Right.
I remember like when I had first watched it, I was just like, is that an actual like very candid emotion? But if that was the case, then she probably might have not have been emotional with her, with her sister, like, crying and whatnot, or she might have been looking off to the side of where he might have been. Like, how like a lot of people just like try and measure where people are. Mm-hmm. But of course she doesn't hear it. So she plays it very, I guess like open and honest, and which I really liked about that honest reaction. Because I think also, like, in later conversation, we get confirmation that she was not aware, at least as far as we know she's not.
And it shows that while she's wearing him down, he's also wearing her down, because you see her cycle through, you have feelings, but you're not sure how to articulate them or where they are. And so to see her kind of like, well, because he's actually pretty good with people, like he's heroic and stuff like that. And in a way, like, it feels like she's kind of disgusted with herself for having to admit it, but at the same time, it's like, but these are qualities that are somewhat attractive to me, and I've seen it in action. It's not just for show, but at the same time, like, again, they've been this whole tit for tat type of strategy. So it's like weird, like seeing her like visually going through like
all the things. Well, especially to justify it, because it's like, and especially like these feelings are foreign to her. Yeah, she can strategize and stuff like that around the moon, but when it comes to like anything of like love and emotion, she doesn't know anything about it any more than he does.
Right.
So a lot of that's going to be like very, very virginal for them, as they broach this for the same time while they're also being pieces on the board. Also, like, when you had said like, she was feeling a little disgusted, I'm like, I don't really see it that way. The maliciousness is not necessarily on her side. Now, how she was treated, being kicked out and being betrayed, yeah, she feels all kinds of things about that, but I think through everything that had happened afterwards, kind of lessened to where she's like, okay, now I think we're back to square one where we're getting back at. And so now I can just keep working on, because like we had said, between the two proposals that she's had, one for sure, the lesser of those she feels more comfortable with. Because like you had said, she has seen how he is with people and how he wants to be a good leader, and how it seems like he's really good and fair. And yes, it seems like he's bloodthirsty and very impulsive, but that's one thing that we're working on. And that's probably something that she's also probably wanting to get him through, to where he doesn't immediately jump to a conclusion, especially about her.
Yeah.
Because like that can end very badly for her. I like that she had that, and of course he overheard that candid moment to where, like you said, he started straightening up and was good to go. And it's very nice to get that open reveal in episode 4 about someone, because usually that's something you usually don't see until like halfway or later on in the drama. They might still like have these looks or exchanges and whatnot, but of course he hasn't seen her off and on for days, and it's nice to have her admit that openly to someone else. Well, like, I find him like kind of hunky, and he's just like,
and it's more like altruistic qualities that are shining through that are making her a little bit more vulnerable to him. It's like, I did not expect him. Like, everybody's saying he has like 3 arms and 4 gallbladders, and he tears people's heads off with his teeth, and everything I've seen is completely against that, other than the way he's treated me, because he has a specific vendetta against me. But everything I've seen otherwise is contrary to that. And so it's nice of her to, number one, come to terms with the fact that there are some good qualities in him. Even if, she may not always want to believe it, like, she's willing to come to terms with that, even if it's for her own ends to achieve her goals. Like, there is some good in him. Maybe I can do what I need to do. I can wear him down. I can change him. No. But
a little bit of that. I would say still a little bit of that, but also to be comfortable with him. Because it's like, you have to live with this decision of being with this man for the rest of your life. That is a hard thing to do, especially when your life is in the balance, in the life of your people.
And I like that Fawn and Mun kind of talk about that. It's like, this is not the life I would have chosen for you. Like, you could tell Fawn feels guilty for running away and all this other stuff. She's like, I want you to be happy too. And it's like, this is the life that I chose. Like, I chose this to help you, to help our clan, to help our family. And if I can get us to be back in a state where we're not being blamed for the state of the Wei clan, then it would have been worth it. And so it's like, we're seeing her own altruism come out, and he's overhearing that as well. I think at one point, one of the generals was like, oh, you think this is a ruse? You think she's just putting on a show? And he's like, I don't think it is. And you kind of see him struggling a little bit, like, oh, this little heifer done run off. She's sneaking out again. She's not sick.
Right.
And then like, oh. And
right. Well, because also, like, when they were walking away, the advisor had told him, it's just like, oh, so she decided to go ahead and marry you out of her own free will.
Exactly.
She was honorable and took her cousin's place. You say, like, even with the Child clan being dishonorable, like, that's one of the most honorable things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the first time I ever heard someone being honorable, and that was through her. And so, like, with that, he's kind of, like, also seeing her in a different light of how honorable she is, especially in the hindsight of, like, them seeing that, oh, she looks like she ran away and eloped with the servant. That changes a lot of the dynamic. So eventually, and I can't remember if it was like that night that he asked for her to come and see him, and he's waiting for her outside. Mm-hmm. And essentially, that's when he had said, like, well, if you are going to see your family, you need to be a little bit more discreet about it. She has, like, this very surprised expression, so it kind of validates. It's like, she didn't know he followed her. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I really liked that conversation between them. Really, it was just him just saying, like, hey, I know that you have your cousin, like, hiding out with you. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you have to be discreet and be careful in the future about it. But I remember when him walking off and she smiles. Something is working.
I'm getting through to him.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, he also brings up, he's like, I had a lot of misconceptions about your clan, but you're actually one of the good ones, which I'm like, that's not much of a compliment, but it's a start.
I mean, it's better than what he has been railing against her for the last 3 episodes, is that your clan and your family ain't nothing. Yeah. And, you are all traitors, you're all snakes, you are all the same. And, with all of this, she's showing him, it's like, I'm not what you think it is. And so that's changing the tide for him, huh? And that's what she's anticipating, and she even said that in one of the comments, I think, to her maid, is that she's just waiting for him to change the tide in order for him to choose the marriage, wanting to marry her.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and also I guess like a little early in the episode too, her grandfather passes away.
Yeah, and she doesn't find out about this until like 5 weeks later.
5 weeks, yeah, because by the time she finds out, which is at the end of the episode, it's been 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, so after that speech, she goes and makes the announcement to the townspeople.
Yes.
And essentially to the townspeople, she was just like, people away will come and like protect us. Like, pretty much, they're good. You don't have to worry about them. They will all like to like build the waterways and stuff like that, and reconnect the canals and have everything running up again. Wei Xiao is also listening on another bridge, and he's just like,
I never told her about that.
Like, how did she know about that? And so he asked his advisor, I'm like, did anyone disclose that? The advisor was like, no, I would not have thought about going against you to do that because I want to keep my head.
Right.
And so, but wasn't that the quote-unquote gift he gave her when it came to Pawnee? Wasn't it like the waterways or something like that?
She first got it. It's like, oh, it's a threat. Like, this is what his plans are. There was a scene where they were both at the canal.
Yeah. And
kind of talking about, like, how did you figure it out? How did you know? It's like, I looked at the gift that you gave me, and it was like stuff like canal was circled, so it's like you're trying to help restore the water and the farming stuff. In her speech to the townspeople, like, she was talking about the canal plans and kind of mentioning the history of the canal and how her clan and the Wei clan had agreed to it with their grandfathers, and it was because of Li Su's nonsense that it got blocked up and caused all the drought. And so it's like, with this canal, it's going to build a bridge back between the two clans. Yes. We're all one now, and this is going to benefit everyone. But I like how she said, talking one-on-one with Wei Xiao, we can open this canal, but beyond people are going to have issues with it.
Yes.
This group of people is going to have issues. Yeah, I thought that was kind of fascinating that he was like, how did you know? And like, he seems like he really is attracted to her brain and her intelligence, because like, watching her talk like about the things that are going through her mind, like he's just like, this is kind of a kind of a turn on. Like, he's still kind of skeptical and not as openly hostile to her, but you could tell like he likes the way she thinks, and it's like,
and there's some respect born out of this.
Yeah, too. And I really like that dynamic, and I like that it was a moment for them alone. They're talking about politics and helping people, but the way that she talks about like the plans and stuff, it's like, it's to help the people, it's for the good of the people, and it's like that. There's this weird internal respect that seems to be growing for her because she's been so selfless. And that was one part of the reason why he was like, oh, you're much better than I expected of your clan, because you're so selfless and everything you've done at this point was for your people. So it's nice that he's recognizing like, okay, she's not she's scheming, but not in the malicious way of scheming, not in the way that we think.
Yes, not to be like, devious towards his harm. It's not that. But it's to protect her people and their interests. And I can't remember when he had mentioned about like, hey, I do not have your skilled tongue, your way with words or anything like that. So
it's recognizing a weakness. And, her weakness, she's not as physically capable. So it's like, that marriage of brute strength versus like brains and marrying the two together. I'm like, power couple.
Then that's the thing. They're very symbiotic to where it's like, where you lack, I pick up. She can detect, looks like he's feeling this. And he can also be like, she's conducting her way in this way. And so like they already know how each operates. It's wonderful to see that even earlier on where he's just like, he susses out like, she did it for this, and then or he's given like bits of a puzzle, and then he goes and resolves to figure it out himself.
Yeah.
And so I really like that, and I also like when they were at the canal when he was asking her about the plans, and she had said like, you know what? When I gave you the seal, you only betrayed me. But if you mess up this project, you're going to betray all the people connected to this canal. So you better do right by that. I think like the whole crux of that, I guess like later on, is that through her speech and whatnot, the advisor for her clan comes. And it was just like, you practically gave the Wei state the foothold of Panyi. So therefore, you're sitting even closer, inching towards Yan and to conquer Yan. And so I was like, it's a little uncomfortable. Pretty much she gave this to them as like as a good faith payment of sorts, or a good faith thing. Both of the families, if they operate the canal and be happy in that way. And also, with Panyi being open, they can now supply a lot of these resources that are lacking in other places, like Shindu that needs it. Oh yes, also forgot about the cousin, because she sent the cousin on to Boya, because apparently her cousin's Boo thing, he got some brute strength, and also like he has something peculiar about him. He has different color eyes. One eye is green. And so he has brute strength to where he can pick up boulders. That gives Man a good idea of like, if I station him at Boya, even though the Wei state has Panyi, Boya's a buffer between Yan and Panyi, and of course where Wei state is. And so he's like, we can get that, fly that under the Chow family colors, then we'll be good on set. So our cousin kind of directs her hubby, let's go to Boya. With all of this happening, Wei Xiao had also asked her, I guess at that canal, going back to that, you told me you didn't want to get married. Was that when she said, my humble heart yearns for you, or something like that? Oh my gosh, girl. Like, ooh. And so he's just like, oh, he's really bothered now.
Yep.
Asking his generals and his advisor, what does he do? Like, does he fulfill the wedding wish or not? And so his advisor was just like, whatever you decide. Like,
yeah, and this is the first time that his advisor has been completely clueless, because
it's not even clueless. I don't think it's it. I think he's more like, he
has no rational answer for this. Like, you have to handle this on your own.
I don't even think it's rational, because the way he kind of like said it almost seemed like, I'll let you come to that conclusion. I'm not saying anything about it. I need you to work through it. Because I'm like, the man has already advised the man, like, you should marry this girl. Mm-hmm. You need to marry this girl.
It's more like, you know what you need to do. You know, stop asking us, but you know what you need to do.
And because a lot of the journals down the line, it's just like, not really my place to say. He needs to get through his own emotions to really determine what it is he really wants. Even if it's like marrying her out of like the needs of his people or the needs eventually of himself. Like, you would need to decide on what you want.
Los dos.
Let's go. And so you can lead the horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. It's kind of like at that same adage. And so even with him, like I said, like guiding him and telling him practically since episode 1, you probably need to go ahead and marry this girl for umpteenth reasons. It's kind of like with her, this has to be your decision. The ball is in your court. You need to make that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what his advisor was kind of like, I'm bowing out of this because I already gave you all the lifelines I could. And you were still just like, let's go hunt her down. He's just like, bruh, like, I'm trying to help you out here. And so I think with this, it's just like, you need to decide like, if this is what you want to pursue and do. Mm-hmm. I can't really force you to marry her if you don't want to.
And I think he instinctively knows, like, once this wedding goes through its point of no return, like, he's going to be exposed to her 24/7, and he's not sure how long his defenses can hold up against her. Yeah. And we're already seeing him falter. We're already seeing him look a little bit confused and kind of struggling with his own emotions. Mm-hmm. And she's not as terrible as I thought she was. And she's a lot more sincere than I thought she was. Maybe she is playing games, but what is the purpose for those games? And so I'm interested to see how that develops over time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And so at the end of the episode, she gets a visit from the advisor that said, like we had said, like she handed over this to stay away. And she's like, well, all this can also be secured through marriage. And so Advisor John was just like, doesn't seem like there's going to be still a marriage. I mean, that could be off the table. And so she's like, why? Your grandfather died. Yeah. She's like, this is not the time to be joking. He's like, she gives her the official letter and she's like, oh no, it's for real. Mm-hmm. And her grandfather died at the age of 60.
Yeah. And it starts raining right after this. And so we were like, oh, water mm-hmm. again, expressing her grief and everything. And, she's kind of like staring out into the sky and she sees him smiling.
Almost Mufasa-like.
And one of the last things that he had mentioned was like, my man has to succeed in this whole endeavor because he's still feeling guilt about how he failed grandfather way a long time ago. He's still feeling that guilt. And it's like, he felt sorry for having to pass that burden on to her, but he recognizes like, she's the only person that can bridge mm-hmm. this thing that I broke like years ago. So it's up to her. And at that point he's like, all right.
Because like even that was like the last thing he said. He was pretty much mm-hmm. like, dude, Way, I am so sorry. I hope that through my granddaughter that she can pretty much like you said, mend this bridge through with your grandson. Mm-hmm. That was it. And that's the end of the episode as she's looking up at the sky and trying to deal with her grief. I guess, what is your prediction for episode 5?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I want to see this man fumble a little bit more and have to work to earn her approval, because I feel like he's going to try and find ways to formally propose and like get his betrothal kit together. Yeah, I want to see him kind of go through that vulnerable moment where we see him having to like, shit, I want her to say yes. What do? I keep thinking of Mr. Bingley at the end of Pride and Prejudice, where he's like, okay, but if I say this and I do this, and like working through those steps with his advisor. Mm-hmm. I think that would be pretty interesting. I want to see that. I don't know if there will be a wedding just yet, but I want to see what steps he takes to get her to say yes, because really everything's hinging on him being able to successfully convince her. So she's gonna do it, but she can't be the one to initiate. She knows that it has to be him. He has to do it. He mm-hmm. has to do it on his own accord for the right reasons and be sincere. Yes. And I find it interesting that they both value sincerity, and that's a common trait, even though this whole time they have to kind of like, work all these hidden steps to one up each other. It's really funny to me.
she already kind of gave him her yes. She already agreed to marry him. That's why she's here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just more like, I'm just waiting for you to do something. Like, crap or get off the pot. What are we going to do here?
Quit wasting my time.
Quit wasting my time.
Things to do.
Because essentially, she's like, you know, even with all this stuff, like, she doesn't really have much to bargain with anymore. Her main bargaining chip, which was Pani, is already gambled away. Hopefully, he'll change his mind about it to where he'll fulfill the promise that should have been already done. When they go about this marriage, how is that going to be? What all is going to go through his mind and hers? Especially since now she's formally grieving because she just lost her grandfather. Yeah, I believe.
A really interesting episode. It's probably one of the most vulnerable episodes we've seen to date. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. So I can't wait for episode 5. I want to see what all goes down. But yeah. A lot.
A little and a lot. I'm like, I think it's one that's filled with a little bit more of gravity in it, especially now that she's going through her.
And especially with Grandpa dead, like, she doesn't really have bargaining chips. So she's basically trusting Wei Zhao to hold up to his word and do what he promises to do. Mm-hmm. And what she promised for his kingdom. Right. So we're going to see if he puts up or shuts up. So
that is the thing, because he's been shutting up a lot. It's like, dude, we need to get some action. Like, for a man that is so full of action and impulsiveness, this is the one thing he's resting on, because this is a battlefield he's not accustomed to. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, yeah, it is going to be very interesting to see him in episode 5. Of course, I've already seen episode 5. But yeah, I guess, like, if that's it, I guess we'll go on to episode 5, and we will let you know more about our thoughts.